If you listen to the critics, if you listen to your own doubts and call them reasons, you may never find the drive to go back to school. But a little change in direction, a new perspective, and the right program may make your successful new path a reality. The Accelerated Degree Program at Albright College. Start your degree or complete your degree one night a week in as little as 2 years. Albright College, a different way of thinking.
Here we go. Good evening, and welcome to the Albright Scholar for February 2016. My name is John Pankratz. I teach history at Albright, and each month it's my pleasure to welcome BCTV viewers and residents of Greater Reading to take a glimpse inside our learning community up here on North 13th Street, to look at the work being done by teachers and students, and to think about its impact upon all of us. Well, don't look now, but it's snowing outside. Oh well, we'll think about happier things. On this show, we're going to celebrate the theater, and we're going to celebrate not only the Domino Player season, but a particular set of plays that are coming up in the next 3 weeks, directed by Albright students. And my guests tonight are student director, senior Sarah Craik, student assistant director, sophomore Faith Jones-Jackson, and a senior dramaturg, Annalie Hornak. Welcome to all three of you.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the show. This has been a great year for the Domino Players. We've began the season with a world premiere of a play by Matt Fotis, and Annalie, you appeared in that, Mary Beth, Mary Roth. And then we staged Clybourne Park, a Pulitzer Prize winning play, and that was then invited to the Kennedy Center American College Theater Regional Festival, and won a lot of applause there, so that was a great triumph. And in the future, in April, we're going to stage Twelfth Night, and a couple of us have parts in that. But in between is a real exciting, not departure because it's been done before, but it's a chance for two of our senior theater majors, Sarah Craik here, and then Connor Feeney, who is off rehearsing with his group. And couldn't be here tonight, but they're directing 2 plays, each of which will run a single weekend, right?
Yes.
Well, I said it was snowing, but maybe the weather will be spring-like by the time these plays go up. Are these happy, cheerful plays? Will they make us think of?
I think this is the playwright Sarah Kane talks a lot about her plays. And says that...
Maybe we'll establish what the play is. We'll
Sure.
let you hold your sign up here. Okay. And this is coming up, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after that, right?
Yes.
The 18th through the 20th. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night.
Yes, all at 8 p.m.
So it's called 448 Psychosis, and it's written by an English playwright, Sarah Kane.
Yes, it is. She is sort of known for her plays having dark themes and being literally in your face. And she writes, this play particularly is about a group of people contemplating suicide. And she writes about her plays that she does not think that they are depressing, but rather that they are full of hope. So for me, the crux of this endeavor has been, rather than these people wanting to kill themselves, they are more instead looking for a way to live.
And that's part of the director's work, to find messages in the play and to establish the telling of the story in a way that conveys that.
I think so.
That message. Now, Faith, you're working on a play called Norway Today.
I am.
Maybe, and that's coming up the weekend after, right?
Yes.
So February 26th through 28th.
Yes.
And one of those shows is a Sunday matinee, Friday night, Saturday night, and then Sunday afternoon. And as we said, it's being directed by Connor Feeney. 448 Psychosis about suicide. What about Norway Today? Is that a little more
Also
cheerful?
about suicide.
Is it?
These 2 young people meet and they decide that they want to commit suicide together, but they go to a fjord in Norway to do so. But they really, I think, along the way get to find out a lot about themselves. and a lot about the people that they are and the world around them, and ultimately make a decision about whether or not they want to participate in that.
Okay.
And it's really cool.
And you're not going to give away the ending?
No.
No, thank you. Thank you. We should say, I mentioned that this, in a sense, is a departure because very often our main stage productions are directed by Albright faculty or perhaps by a guest director. So that Matt directed his own play, Mary Beth, Mary Roth. Jeffrey Lentz directed Clybourne Park. Julia Matthews is going to be directing Twelfth Night in April. But here, two seniors, you and Connor, are being given all this responsibility. It's happened a couple times in the past. So Shannon Rowe directed Baby with the Bathwater. Sheldon Carpenter directed The Shape of Things. And now this opportunity.
Yeah, well, Connor and I both directed for the main stage in our junior year. Just last year, we directed during the fall semester as part of Devious Laughter.
Oh, of course, that's right.
So we've had a similar opportunity, but not to this scale. These are both full-length pieces, whereas the pieces we did before were shorter.
Shorter, that's right.
Each of ours ran just under 20 minutes. So he and I are both presenting these as our senior honors project. Well, our senior honors thesis project. A lot of students will write papers or like a kind of dissertation. Science students will do projects as well, but right. It's hard to do one in the arts or if you're trying to be a director. So I think with persuasion and lots of essay writing, the faculty at Albright threw us a bone, and here we are.
Right. You and Connor have something else in common in that you've each spent a semester away from Albright at the National Theater Institute in
we have.
Connecticut.
I went last fall in the National Theater program, which is just it's a little more generalized. It's more geared toward actors and similarly, like in the liberal arts idea, where we get to do all sorts of things like acting, and we do get to direct, and we write plays, and we have a design class, and we sing, and we dance, and all this other stuff. Connor went this past spring as part of the advanced directing semester,
right.
Which is just a little more intense and focuses less on acting and that skill set and more on being in the rehearsal room with professional directors and honing your own artistic skills.
Yeah, and over the course of the years, you've done probably more on-stage performing than Connor has.
Yes, yes. I'm more of an actor. Connor's been a little more behind the scenes, I think.
Right. But in general, Albright's approach is to really train theater professionals, to give you experience in every facet of the dramatic art. Yeah. Now, Annalie, you're working as the dramaturg on both of these plays, right?
I am.
Remind us what a dramaturg does.
Essentially what a dramaturg does is we kind of provide a research context for the play. We tell the director and the designers and everyone, here's the information about the playwright, here's what the playwright wanted to do, here's the historical context, the social context, the philosophical context for these plays. So for example, with both of these, a lot of the work that I've done with my two kind of, I don't want to call them assistants because we're kind of collaborators, but there's a freshman and a sophomore named Matt Jerkowitz and Garrett Solomon who are working with me on each of the plays, so I can kind of pass along some dramaturgy before I graduate. But we've done a lot of work with existentialism. Norway Today is often billed as an existentialist romantic comedy, which I think is kind of funny. So a lot of the work that we've been doing involves this idea of existence preceding essence, and this idea of we have so much control over our own destinies, and how much fear does that instill in us, and how much power does that give us.
And you've learned something about the playwright.
Yes.
And who is that?
Igor Bauer-Sima, who wrote Norway Today, he's a German playwright who has a degree in architecture. He's done film. He is an avant-jazz musician. A lot of the work that he's done with his theater ensemble in Germany involves mixing video and film with theater. So a lot of his plays are about mixing multimedia kind of elements into live performance, which is really interesting. And Norway Today is based on a true story of a 22-year-old in Germany who reached out to this young girl on an internet chat room and convinced her to commit suicide with him.
Social media.
Yeah, so a lot of the work that we've done with this play specifically as well has involved thinking about how do Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and all of these instant gratification connections to other people affect the way that we affect our expectations and affect the way that we interact. which I think is interesting.
Super important question. So this is a fairly recent play, right?
It was written in 2001.
2001, okay.
So relatively recent. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird to think that 2001 was a while ago.
It is. It's history now. It's history. And 448 Psychosis is a little bit older.
A little bit older. It was written in 1999, but then Sarah Kane committed suicide shortly after the play was written, and then it was performed posthumously. It's considered by many to be her kind of suicide note, although I don't necessarily know how much truth that has. I think part of that is kind of up to interpretation. And Sarah's kind of given the play a very specific interpretation, and I think it's just exciting that it's kind of turned into something so unique and so specific to our campus, and I think the issues that address our campus.
Okay, and that's really the job of the director, to be an interpreter of this text, and your information, your context helps to inform that.
Absolutely, it's totally a collaboration.
Right. So you had both obviously read the play, but some of Annalee's research had informed your own rereading and thinking about it.
A little bit of give and take. The play that Sarah Kane wrote does not have specific characters or a specific time and place. It's just a bunch of text, and sometimes that text has little dashes next to it that kind of tell you that these are different people speaking, but it doesn't tell you who they are. And so what I did was go through and decide who says what, because I knew I wanted to cast a 3-person ensemble, and out of that was born these 3 distinct individuals, and then the work that I did with that was then passed over to Annalee and her team, who took the theoretical work and the philosophical and the storytelling and the history of it, and then came back and supplemented the work that I had done. So it's really just a cyclical process.
Yeah. So the script itself leaves an awful lot of room for choices and decisions.
I'd say so. There haven't been many performances of this piece. The biggest ones vary.
Yeah, there are ones that are done with casts of a single person doing the entire play by themselves, and then there are casts of 18 people, these big Shakespearean style things, and then I think a majority of the productions are 3 people because of a very specific line in the play that says victim, perpetrator, bystander. So very often I think directors will kind of take an approach of casting one.
Cue from that.
Yeah.
For us, it just had to do with budget and costuming, really.
That would certainly be the case on Broadway as well.
Yeah, I had to decide
how many high-priced actors could you hire.
It was either 3 or 5, and I think 3 works. I don't know. I'm more drawn to a smaller cast, I think. So yeah, I made that decision pretty early, and then thank goodness, it just kind of worked out.
Oh. It may be that many of our viewers at home don't entirely understand what a director does day to day in rehearsals, right? They see the actors up there and they assume that the actors are just being those characters. What kinds of decisions, what kinds of choices does a director have to take?
So it's really important, one, to understand whatever the piece is.
Really understand it well, really have clear ideas.
Yeah, and that's really according to the director, and to make an interpretation. And so even this play, we did some research and we saw a bunch of different stills and things that have been done, and there are so many things and so many choices that can be made, and it's really cool to be in a room with Connor and watch him to have his own interpretations and use so many other people to inform that. And so I think really the job of the director is to serve as the audience before the audience gets there, and sort of making sure that this story is being told as it is intended to be told by the playwright, but also alongside the creativity of whoever the creative team is. And Connor really embraces collaboration, I think, and I think that his definition of a director, more so than anything, is an audience member, because we have visitors in the room a lot, and whenever they're there, he's always the first person that he goes to ask for their opinion, to see how well maybe some of the things that he is trying to get to come across are coming across.
And that storytelling takes place verbally in terms of the way lines are understood and read and delivered, but it also takes place physically
Yeah, verbally, visually, physically. We did a lot of really cool movement exercises just yesterday, and we spent the entire rehearsal just moving and sort of figuring out what is important in the space and like how the actors move in the space and how this cliff is different from the Wachovia Theater stage, or like how this cliff is different from the way that they live their lives every day. Yeah.
So there's a cliff in this fjord in Norway.
Yes.
But wait, it's happening just a week after your play. Is your play happening on a cliff in Norway too?
No, we've got a brilliant. It isn't. We have a brilliant designer who's graced the Wachovia stage with her designs many times, Cocole Burnell.
Yeah.
She's very sweet, and
You won't get an argument from me.
no, I don't think so. And she agreed to design both productions under the conditions that they would have a shared light hang, not necessarily a shared light plot in a shared space. So if there were to be any changes in the set, they would have to be very, very small but purposeful.
Okay. Okay.
So-
So people who see both weekends, and I hope people do go to see
I hope
both
so, too.
weekends, will see sort of the same rate
Yeah.
stage, sort of jutting out on the diagonal.
Yeah, we've built
and
a
then-
stage on a stage.
Yeah.
And then we've got walls as well, and it's all painted white so they can be projected on to satisfy Mr. Bauer-Sima. And for us, they give us the idea of a room.
Of a room.
So if you see both plays, you'll see subtle differences, but I think that's part of the joy and part of the sisterhood of marrying these two plays together in the season, is seeing the conversations and the places where they connect, but also the places where they're different. It's great that they're so similar, and it's great that they're so different.
Has any theater performed these plays sort of in tandem like this?
I don't think so, no.
Probably not. So this is a really creative choice. Thematically, they're kind of related, but
Yeah.
the effect is going to have them talking to each other in the viewers, in the audience members' mind.
They're both very much about how the self grows and how we identify ourselves at their core. I think suicide is a topic that's relevant to both of them, obviously, but I think they're both about so much more than that.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much for an audience member potentially to get out of either of these plays, both of these plays, beyond just thinking about such a significant topic. Although I think recently within our country as a whole, mental health has become such a relevant issue with college students in particular. So we're really hoping to kind of start a conversation about what do these feelings mean? What do these thoughts mean? How do we handle them? How do we cope with them? What do they mean to other people?
Will the audience members have a chance to talk with the players and with the directors and the team?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a reception and a talk back after the opening night of both shows. So we've got the 18th over here and the 26th for Norway. And of course, after the show, you can just stop us in the lobby. I mean, I'd love to hear what anybody have to say, and I'm sure Connor would too. That's what makes theater so cool. It's literally about bringing a community together to talk and share.
To start a campus-wide conversation.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. That's always been my feeling. Some people say, oh, well, I don't go to much theater. I don't really like theater. And I said, well, no, that's not a question. It's part of the ideas that animate all our thinking and concerns, and it's something that we share. And it's a way to raise these questions for the entire community.
And that's kind of what the role of a director is that's kind of an extra role, is what questions are we asking? What do we want the audience to ask us? And I think that's really fundamentally what theater's all about, is asking questions and challenging beliefs and thinking about things in a different way.
Yeah. Having experiences that you don't have to have yourself, but the act of being in the audience gives you that vicarious catharsis, as it were. Yeah. Great. Was it easy? I mean, you're working with your peers, right? With your fellow students, and yet you're working in a position of authority and decision making. Has that been an easy process?
It's been fine. It's been a little funny at times. I'm just a very silly person, so I sometimes I get a little goofy, and but I think at the core, I know what I'm trying to do, and I trust that the ensemble that I'm working with knows that I truly mean for this to be taken very seriously, which is why I feel comfortable joking and keeping a light-hearted environment, that's open to risk and to danger and all that. So I think the only part that's been difficult has been adjusting. Yeah,
but it may be that because you're friends, that there is a level of trust and maybe a comfort level that allows for greater exploration.
And there's danger too, because none of us have been in this position before exactly. So it's so cool. I'm so impressed every day by what my friends can do, and I'm just blessed that they trust me. And it's just.
Speaking of these friends, we should probably give a shout out to your cast members. Who's in 448 Psychosis?
Well, my assistant director, Nate Rothermel, has been a castmate of mine a few times. And the ensemble is a freshman, Natalie Torpy, another freshman, Connor McLaughlin, and a sophomore, Ian Amberman. And they're all very sweet. They're very, very dedicated.
And they've been in some wonderful productions already. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Excellent. And Faith, who's the performing team for Norway Today?
Yeah. So we have 2 juniors, Rachel Spalls and Devin Palmieri. And this is the first time in a very long time that we've gotten to do a show with just 2 people. And so the dedication and sort of work that they've had to put in because of that has been really inspiring to watch.
Intense work as performers.
Yeah.
How wonderful. How wonderful. Well, this sounds like it's been a wonderful challenge, and it sounds like you're meeting the challenge. The buzz that I happen to hear at home is that the performances are really coming together, and that these are going to be great nights of theater in the Wachovia Theater. We can just mention once again that the first play runs February 18th through 20th, 448 Psychosis, by Sarah Kane and directed by Sarah Craik. And then Norway Today by Iker Bauersima, the 26th through 28th, directed by Connor Feeney, and assistant directed by Faith Jones-Jackson. Wonderful. We hope that many of you will come to see these productions. It's always a stimulating night when you come to a Domino Players production. I'll give you a report on what I see next month and invite you back for another edition of the Albright Scholar. Good night.
If you listen to the critics, if you listen to your own doubts and call them reasons, you may never find the drive to go back to school. But a little change in direction, a new perspective, and the right program may make your successful new path a reality. The Accelerated Degree Program at Albright College. Start your degree or complete your degree 1 night a week in as little as 2 years. Albright College, a different way of thinking.